Everybody, here we are at EclipseCon 2009 in lovely Santa Clara at the Convention Center, and we've got two more guests with ourselves. Would you like to introduce yourselves?
Sure, I'm Adam Lieber, CEO of WebTide.
Greg Wilkins, CTO of WebTide.
A major project you guys work on, Jetty, is now part of Eclipse, and you were just saying that, I think it was last night that you guys checked everything in, if you will. And
we did the commit of making org.eclipse.jetty exist in the SVN, and moved the Jetty 7 development branch into Eclipse.
Yeah, it's kind of the next step in the evolution after 12 years. Created about 12 years ago, and now it's got a new name, new place, but new communities, but
yeah, building
up on
Jetty
that.
is mostly known as being a servlet container, but we like to think of it as a quality HTTP server, a quality asynchronous HTTP client as well, and a servlet container as well. And so it's the components that you use to put together HTTP aware applications or application frameworks, and build web servers out of these components.
Back when I was a developer, when I used Jetty, I remember it being sort of an embeddable web server, or a very small sort of web server. And that was a while ago now, but has it sort of lasted in that sort of mode?
It's one of the good things about moving to Eclipse and changing the packaging is that we can slim a few of the pounds we picked up along the way. So we still are a very small footprint web server, and in the process of the move we've become smaller. The embeddability all comes about from being focused on producing software components before becoming a software container. So we always say, put Jetty into your application rather than putting your application into Jetty. And so we want to be consumable as software components rather than being, this is our disk layout and this is where you put your web apps and the application server side of things. Now, of course, the applications that we get embedded into might actually be application servers. So Geronimo can use Jetty as its web tier. JBoss can use it. We have our own high-tide application server. Sybase EA server is built on Jetty. So it's a component that gets used as the web tier of application servers.
Type Jetty powered into Google, you'll see a list come up, a couple hundred long or so, of various commercial and other open source projects based on it.
Right.
And it's with these component focus, we've been moving it recently to other platforms where people might not have thought of servers, into phones, for example, Android phones, CDLC, Windows Mobile type phones.
People use a web server and a phone for?
There's it's in many ways it's technology looking for a cool application, but
right.
In other ways you can think of it in terms of these phones are very capable small mobile devices, and one of the limiting factors is having a small screen. So the ability to surf to your phone to say organise your contacts, or check your media, look at the photos you've taken from a web browser, without the complexities of synchronizing with Outlook and Google and various other things.
So it could be sort of like a closed world SOA or sort of web world that you can browse things.
Browse to. You can use it as a very easy webcam to set up. Put your phone on the table, connect to the Wi-Fi with a thing, webcam instantly. The Greenstone media server's been ported to Jetty running on Android, so all of a sudden your phone becomes a media server for your music and your videos, and so when you go to a party with your phone and all your music content, it's much easier to fight over who gets control of the stereo, because you can actually serve across the Wi-Fi your content from your phone without having to fight for the phone.
Some of these operating systems won't be just known as phone operating systems in the future. I think it'll be going into a lot more home entertainment devices or industrial network devices and things like that have similar capabilities on the back end.
Right. And to flip it as well, in terms of we're not just a server, we're a client, and so our client components are on these devices as well. So it means that you can write a rich application on Android or a JTME phone that uses our client to talk across the network, say using the Comet-D push protocol to talk to a server, and you can do chat applications or pricing applications and use the client components as well.
Right.
And also with the embeddability, it's not just phones and small devices we're embedding in. A lot more projects are picking us up to embed them inside their projects. So Google GWT has just switched to use Jetty as the embedded web server when you do run a GWT from the development environment. It's using Jetty by default. And we've already been in Grails, and JRuby uses us, and various many platforms like that have got Jetty embedded into other platforms. And while we're here at EclipseCon, obviously the Eclipse IDE has Jetty embedded in the IDE to serve the help pages and various other preview options. There's an element of improving our process and improving our packaging, meeting new communities, getting new committers.
bringing more ideas into Jetty then from the people that might have been more exposed to other aspects and not leaving anyone behind at the same time, so the same license still applies with the addition of new options.
And we're not leaving Codehouse either. We're staying our presence at Codehouse, and it's very much the components will be coming from Eclipse, and Codehouse will be where we'll be assembling those into various packages, Debian packages, RPM packages. The High Tide server will bring in the Atomicos transaction manager and ActiveMQ, and so it's kind of like, Eclipse will be the component factory, and a Codehouse will be the assembly area.
What was the motivation for you guys to get hooked up with Eclipse and to become an Eclipse project?
From the project's point of view, firstly I think change is good. Coming to a new community, the OSGI community, and seeing their requirements and how we can repackage it and help them out. Getting new requirements keeps the project dynamic, keeps it moving forward. We very much saw a good fit between the Eclipse project in its component focus, that they build things with components, rather than, say, a focus of building an application server and competing with the other EE vendors out there. And it's kind of as a statement that Jetty's not about competing with the EE vendors. It's about providing quality software components that are well suited to the needs that you have.
For a couple of years now, Eclipse has sort of been moving more and more into the back end, if you will, and doing more back end stuff. And clearly, Jetty, web servers are used to serve up front ends. I mean, it is a back end technology, and so in sort of like the whole picture of Eclipse being in the back end, like where do you guys see Jetty fitting into the sort of the Eclipse back end initiative?
We've joined Eclipse as part of the runtime project, and we are another suite of runtime technology that will be provided from Eclipse. We're not going to be doing a tight coupling between the OSGI Equinox and Jetty, but we're increasingly becoming OSGI friendly. We've for a long time had the metadata in our bundles, but we've improved the packaging of our jars and to make them better OSGI bundles. We'll be taking over or contributing to the maintenance of the HTTP service with an OSGI and Equinox to make it easier to provision servlets and filters and things like that within the OSGI world. And we're looking for, again, new ideas and new requirements coming out of the OSGI communities and the Eclipse runtime communities to help us continue to innovate within the Jetty project by finding new requirements that we can meet well with our technology on both the client and the server side.
Obviously, as your shirt shows here, you're part of WebTide, and you've been with WebTide for a long time. And how does like hooking up with Eclipse sort of affect the day-to-day business that WebTide has?
It possibly exposes us to a larger audience. Our business model has been on extending Jetty for particular performance profiles or new devices that people need, providing advice to development teams on private methods and subscription bases so that they can get along with their projects faster, do production support along that way. So our business is staying the same, of providing those services where relevant to Jetty and Comet D users. So just as part of a bigger group now and picking up new users all the time in some pretty interesting places. We've been marveling here at JPL uses of Jetty to control the Mars rovers. So it's and we've been showing some game applications at our booth, some phone applications. We've been working with a number of banking and auction companies lately. So I think this is only going to help that, although I don't think it changes anything in terms of our business as experts in this area, and we'd love to work with more people.
I guess it says that our business is dedicated to the open source model by having the Jetty at the Eclipse Foundation. There's been more process there. And so WebTide is very much dedicated to having it as a true open platform and selling our value add around that.
There's been some headline articles recently is open source a business model, and certainly it keeps WebTide running well and growing. We've now in 6 cities in 4 countries and ever-growing customer base, so it certainly works for us.
Thanks for taking all this time to talk with us.
Not a problem.
Thank you very much.